Greetings, Summoners. Cosmic here, and welcome back to another Battle Spirits Saga video. And I know we've talked about it all week, but we're still going to be hyping up Purple. And today we're going to have Ryan Miles to talk about Purple Control, who's been doing very well with it and has been traveling all over and taking names with it. So, Ryan, why don't you just introduce yourself for everyone really quick that might not know you?
Hi everyone, I'm Ryan Miles. I've been in the card game scene for many years now. Started with Yu-Gi-Oh! Played Force of Will as like my primary thing. Won a world championship for that. Helped develop Argent Saga, if you played that game, back before the pandemic.
Rest
And
in peace.
then pandemic haven't been doing too much. Battle Spirit comes out. I'm like, all right, we got big money in this game, and trying to take it down. So yeah, didn't do super well in Vegas. I mean, I got top 64, but I felt like I could have done better. And then there was a case tournament on day 2 with 65 people, and I got top 5 in that. Don't ask me why there were 5 people in a single elimination event, but I did lose a purple mirror in top 5 of that event. Went to Virginia Beach a couple weeks ago, won a top 4 to case tournament and split a case there, and then split top 4 of a 1K that same weekend. And then just this past weekend, I won another 1K here in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. So just been playing purple the whole time. I think it's really a top 2 deck in the format, and it's like insane to me that the internet thinks it's anything but that because it's so good.
Yeah, it's definitely one that even myself, honestly, I expected perhaps more representation in Palm Springs. And one thing I really wish we knew how many purple players were like in the field overall, right? And then that's maybe why I only made it out to 2 in the top cut. I know it's a harder deck to pilot. You have to make sure you know your matchups really, really well. But I definitely think it's one, like we did see Spencer, so shout out to them again, make the top 8 with it. So it got there, but I definitely think it's one of those decks that you just need to put in the reps with. So overall, you know, I'll have the current list you set me up here on the screen for people just to look at, but tell me about some of the key cards. And I know there's one Yellow Magic that we're really going to spend some more time on, but tell me your thought process behind some of the 4 and 5 drops. Like, what are the kind of the key pieces that you believe that all purple control decks should have going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dragonaga Assassin is the start off. It's the best 3-drop in the game. Like drawing cards is very good, having curse is very good. That should always be a 4 of. And then like just hopping off, I think the Palm Springs deck actually didn't play any Dragonaga Assassin, and I kind of hate it, but also because that format was so aggressive, having a creature that needs to attack kind of makes sense to maybe cut it, but I think it's insane. Bishop and Curse Dragon, obviously some of the best cards in the game, and I personally play 4 of each. I see a lot of lists going down to 3 and 3, and I just think that like Bishop by itself, or especially Curse Dragon by itself, are just so powerful that it's completely fine running 4 of each. Camelot Knight, I think, is a super great aggressive creature, one of the best free drops in the game. And then for my 4s and 5s, it's Dark Lancer Cavalier as a 4 of, and Mordred. Obviously, in purple, you're not playing around Starblast Draw. It's just not possible. And I think Dark Lancer Cavalier is just replacing itself. When it dies, it gets back a Beldegor. It's just one of the best value pieces you have. Beldegor is one of the best cards in the game. Like, if Dragonaga Assassin is, like, the best 3-drop, number 2 is, like, Peggy, maybe Dino Man, but, like, Beldegor is probably number 3 or 4. I think Beldegor is insane. So you do need some activators, and Cavalier's just, like, the play him down, put a core on him, let him die. Super good. So yeah, that's kind of the creatures. I think Earth Spider Demon is also like a consideration, but again, this is a meta where you don't really want to be attacking very much. So like attacking and killing your opponent's guy can be good, but it's not really what I'm doing right now. So I would play him, but just don't currently. And then Mamira is something else that I think could be good, but it's just not something I'm on right now. But yeah, that's that. I think for Nexuses, it's Another World Depths is a 4 of. It's like, again, one of the best cards in the game. Especially with Pharaoh Slash kind of creeping up. I'm getting lower and lower on the other Nexuses. Smoke Valley is obviously very good, but it's like, for me, it's a 1 or 2 of. I see a lot of people playing, 3 or 4. Again, I think the top 8 Palm Spring list played 4. I think that's fine. It's just not a card that I'm really high on right now, because you need more like combo pieces to get value out of it. And sometimes your opponents just don't let you drain their guys. A lot of people get very attack shy against purple and don't exhaust their units, and almost all of your core removal revolves around exhausted units. So Smoke Valley is kind of for me. And then for spells, it's obviously Ice Shield. 4 of Deadly Balance. That's another card I see people kind of going down on to 3. I think Deadly Balance is one of the best removal spells. It helps you save Ice Shield just by being one of the best flash removal spells and removing one attacker from your opponent. It lets you do cute things with Beldegor. I just think Deadly Balance is one of the best cards in the game and should always be a 4 of, especially if you're playing Beldegor, right? Burning Force, kind of, I fluctuate between 2 and 3. Just put it in the deck, don't put it in the deck. It's kind of just, I want to beat Netherworld depth, so I play it.
Yeah.
So, but I know, again, the Palm Spring less played 0. That seems fine if you want to. And then, yeah, 1 Core Theft because Dyna exists, and that's like our best out to
Yep.
Dyna, and that's why I always have to play 1 Core Theft. And then, yeah, Angelic Pressure is the last spell that I main deck. I started main decking it just kind of to beat main deck Fulas. Like, I was always siding it in game 2 to like anticipate my opponent siding in Fulla, and then I just found in those matchups, even when my opponent didn't play Fulla, the card was still just good. Like, you end up putting a lot of cores on your guys and kind of playing slow with purple because you want to bring back Beldegor, because you want to flash Deadly Balance. You have a lot of things you want to do during the flash step. So Angelic Pressure is just one more thing where you can use these cores you've saved up on your guys. And against purple, like, they can't go super wide against you because they're going to get Curse Dragon. So sometimes they'll put 2 cores on guys, but they'll stay level 1, and you can Angelic Pressure those even when they think they're safe. And if people go tall and put too many cores, okay, your Angelic Pressure is turned off, but now your Deadly Balances get better. So there's really, like, having a little bit of extra removal just helps and makes it really hard for your opponent to play again.
Yeah, Angelic Pressure was a big one for me too, right? Because one of the drawbacks we often see in purple is that your BP thresholds are just generally not good numbers you want to be hitting. Like, sure, with the Assassin and with Cavalier, you can at least hit 4K, so you're dodging Burning Force. But sometimes you're matched up against a lot of these 7 or 8s where now suddenly you can play Angelic Pressure, make the trade, and then get the Beldegor back, which is the same reason why I really like Deadly Balance still at 4 personally, the couple of lists that I've tried out. Because just controlling when you can bring Beldegor back and kind of flip that switch to be more aggressive, at least from my testing with it, has been pretty huge. And like, that's a flexibility I just don't want to give up in the list. And who knows what magic we're going to be getting in EX01, right? We're getting 4 new spells, so that might change up some stuff. But that's post Ohio, so we don't have to worry about that just yet. But speaking of Ohio, we have some matchups to go through, right? So part of this too is really want to help, elevate everyone's gameplay, have an open discussion around purple and what people are playing and some of those key strategies. So really just going to do a quick rundown, or, well, I say quick, but we'll see how long it goes, right? More of just an open discussion because we're all, well, I shouldn't say all of us, but all of our immediate group is heading down to Ohio, so it's very much top of mind. But there is is it Europe? I think it's Europe. I apologize what's happening before. I think there's a Europe one and then Chile, and then Ohio. I think there was like 2 or 3 grand opens before. So obviously we'll get to see what the TP meta looks like and all that. Things will shake up, but we got to test today. We're not waiting for those grand opens. So Ryan, why don't you tell us just some of the matchups, and we'll just start off and just look at my notes. We'll just start with Fabled Beast, right? So as you are the purple player sitting down for this matchup, just tell us, like, what are some of the key cards that you look for? What are going to be some of those key interactions that help you turn the game? Like, just give an overall strategy to the other players in terms of how you approach that matchup.
Yeah, Fabled Beast can be a little tricky. Their Nexuses draw them cards, and you don't like other decks that can draw as many cards as you. With Fabled Beast, particularly the actual Fabled Beast Nexus is like the one you actually want to kill in Burning Force more than the Blessed Cathedral, because you're really efficient about killing things outside of combat. You know, you can main phase Deadly Balance, you can main phase Burning Force, you can main phase Angelic Pressure. All their stuff dies to Angelic Pressure, except for like God Beast, right? So there's a lot of ways to just kill all of their things, and if you can stop them from drawing cards and set up some Netherworld depths, you will outvalue them. One of the biggest cards against that deck is just the Curse Dragon. Even without the Bishop, a lot of times they go pretty wide and just kind of want to hit you to put pressure on you, and just having Curse Dragon to kill off a couple things just feels very good. I don't think I've ever dropped a game to yellow, and I played against it, I feel like, way more than I should have by now, because people just keep playing yellow, and I'm like, this deck is bad, right? And then I 2-0 them, and I'm like, I don't get it. I beat yellow, and then I go to the next round in the 3-0 bracket, and I'm still playing against yellow. Like, what is going on here?
My man's casually breaking my heart as I'm the proclaimed Fabled Beast mate out there, but it's a matchup I feel pretty rough with. But yeah, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, no, the Palm Springs thing kind of didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, where I just feel like maybe either purple was underrepresented, or purple players are just cutting on the combo and only playing 3 Curse Dragon and not seeing it. I just feel like every tool that purple has, especially Beldegor, just like, you're just always gaining cards on them, and eventually they run out of steam way too easily. That's my opinion of the matchup. I've just like absolutely never struggled with it, so I would probably have to just play against the better players to see what Fabled Beast is bringing to the table. I will say, in the case tournament at Vegas, I actually played against a dedicated Luster deck with Michaela, and that was one of the hardest matches I've played in Battle Spirits. And I like Luster, like if they can just go wide enough and you can't deadly balance their Luster stuff, they're just wiping your board all the time. And it almost feels more like a purple mirror, where you're wiping their board with Bishop Curse Dragon, and then they're wiping your board with like Dude, Michaela, Exhaust Nexus combos. And Exhaust Nexus just like hoses purple. You're always getting your board wiped. So it does come down against Luster to like a card advantage battle, which you can win, but it's a little bit scarier than like even what the Fabled Beasts are doing. So that's kind of where my head stands on yellow.
Yeah, especially too, I think to your point about trying to find those lines, and purple players just, haven't come to a general consensus on it yet. Even talk within the Discord, there's been a lot of conversation. It's like, well, how do you use Burning Force? And I'm glad that you kind of backed me up on this, because I was a guy like, no, you have to kill Paradise 10,000 times out of 100. Like, I get that Cathedral has a higher ceiling on it, technically, right? Because you get the ramp, you get the draw. But so many decks are now adopting to where they can kill, especially purple, obviously being the best, right? Curse Dragon Bishop, just the namesake of it. They can kill you outside of combat, so you just never get anything off Blessed Cathedral. And I wonder if it's that kind of a dynamic where people are so used to seeing how good Cathedral is, which again, it's a higher ceiling. It's probably going to do more in the long term, but at least right now, Paradise, in my opinion, is the bigger nexus. And I've even talked about going to a 4-3 split where I'm cutting back on Cathedral just because Paradise is that good. That said, one promo that we did see get a little bit of play this past weekend is Pharaoh Slash. And that kind of does hose yellow quite a bit. I'm going to lose my Friezatol and I'm going to lose my Paradise. Like, that doesn't feel good. So I'm really curious to see how that dynamic changes a little bit more. And then also, notably, there was no Burning Force, right, in the purple control list. So that is another consideration. Like, are some purple control lists just cutting it? In my opinion, you have to have Burning Force. I just think that card does way too much in the current format. But that might have been another consideration. Like, Fabled Beast can just run away with it if you can get so much value off of Paradise. And that's usually been my path to victory with it. Now, again, my purple games have probably been closer than I like to admit. Just because it's such a weird game to play where it's like you can't overcommit, but you're still trying to get in chip damage and you have to battle through multiple, Curse Dragon Bishops that, if they just whiff on Ice Shields, obviously you can end the game a lot quicker. But if you're playing an average game of like they have their Ice Shields and they have their combo and then you also have your own value engines, it can get really grindy. And I've had to mill out a couple people because, probably wrong 99 times out of 100 again, but they're like, okay, double depths, go. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to mill you. I'm on the mill out plan now at this point. I've killed a few purple players that way.
Double depths against yellow is like this. Like I never triple depths, but I'll usually double depths. But yellow is the one where I'm like most afraid to double depths because they just spam the board, and then there's so much combat that happens before you start dealing damage that you really can get into that mill out range. Just with the two Netherworld depths. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, not ideal because then you're playing like a 40-minute game one, and that never feels good. But definitely something I think more people will have to get comfortable piloting, because I can promise you in Ohio we're going to see more Fabled Beast. Because Dual Eagle, right? Man, I love that dude.
Yeah, speaking of comfort piloting, I've had different yellow players try a lot of different strategies when it comes to attacking me. Like I've had yellow players try to just like go wide and get their nexuses down and try and like really establish before they started trying to deal damage to me. And I kind of get that because you don't want me to just like, you don't want to ramp me into the Curse Dragon when you're like trying to go wide. You've only got a couple cores on dudes. Obviously like Mordred is a problem. Beldegor is a problem. When you attack me, it turns on all of my removal, but also like I do just have better inevitability than you. So not attacking me is also bad. Like no matter what yellow does, whether they're putting the pressure on early and I get my removal online, or they're not putting on the pressure and I get to draw more cards, more Netherworld depths, it always just feels like purple has that advantage both in the short and the long game. So I'm really just not sure what yellow is doing to purple.
Yeah, not having a good time, I'll tell you that much. At least for me personally, that is the one matchup where if like my opponent's turn one Smoke Valley, like inside is just die, because it's going to be a long grindy game. It's not fun for either one of us. Or, some people might find enjoyment in that, like really nickel and diming, value plays over a 30 turn game or whatever it is. But it's like, if I'm doing that, I want to play a dedicated control deck and not this weird mid-range trying to get there against a better control deck sort of thing. That's just never a fun matchup. So I guess really quick there too, since I just mentioned it, but what are your thoughts on Dual Eagle overall for yellow and how that, can help or does not help the purple matchup?
Yeah, not. I don't care too much about it in the purple matchup. Blessed is the keyword that matters more against the aggressive stuff. I did actually play against a couple Eagles at locals this week, and I read the card. I read Blessed, and then I killed it, and I was like, well, I don't. Like, it doesn't generate you card advantage outside of being a fabled beast. So I think that part is the most important, where it'll
Right.
draw you cards off of the paradise. But again, I'm trying to kill those on site. So yeah, I think the card's good for yellow, but not for the yellow purple matchup.
Yep, absolutely. And again, the big thing is, as you mentioned, just it's another Fabled Beast, and that deck desperately just wants more Fabled Beast, as it were, just to always get value off your Paradise. And again, EX01, maybe or maybe not, but set 2, for sure, going to have more Fabled Beasts. So really curious to see how the lists are going to adapt from that point forward. So moving on to our next one, we have White Aggro, which was at 3 decks in top 16, if I remember correctly. Obviously, it was coming out of or even before that, right? Going back to the launch events, White Aggro kind of popped up. We covered it in a video a month ago now, I think, at this point, where it's like, hey, this is a real deck. It has 0 ice shields, but no, it is a $30 deck that can just go burr. Got second place, and it does some scary stuff with Librarian and Regain, and just being able to kill you out of nowhere, it feels like. So as a purple player, what are, again, kind of the key cards you're looking for, or any spicy sideboard tech that you found that was really beneficial in that matchup?
Yeah, so White Aggro was a deck I was almost playing for Vegas actually. Like we found the deck, we beat up all the slow control decks in testing, and then we're just like, man, White Aggro is a deck. And I'm like, well, how does it do against like just normal purple? And I just don't lose games to White Aggro. Like obviously sometimes they have some completely nuts hands with like triple Valkyrie Mist or something, and you're just not getting any blockers. You're just drawing Bishop stuff or whatever.
Yep.
Bishop is a card that doesn't do anything in that matchup, but Curse Dragon does a lot in that matchup. So yeah, in White Aggro, I've played against it a couple times in tournament now, and I've beaten it every time, but it is close, usually. But I think Purple is favored. Beldegor is insane against that deck because it kills one of their blockers, it puts out a blocker, it forces, like, they don't want to bounce it, but they have to push damage.
Yep.
Deadly Balance is very good. Just like simplifying the game state, constantly killing their guys, preserving life total as much as possible. Getting down Netherworld depths can be good if you can like find time with Ice Shield to do it, just to like draw you into more like aggressive hands to be able to actually push back. It's really hard to find the time to crack back against White Aggro, I found. And yeah, they have a lot of draws that can really just like kill you way too quickly. Every time I look at White Aggro decks that like aren't the exact one that Brandon Bremont played to top 32, I see White Aggro decks with 4 suppression, and I'm like, oh, thank God, those are 4 cards that don't kill me. Like in the finals of the 1K, I played against a guy that was playing just like whatever was like the standard white aggro list, and it had like main deck Star Blessed draw and like main deck suppression, and I was like, I made a play and I'm like 100% gonna die here, and he just like attacks me and passes with 1 card in hand, and I'm like, oh, like, is his 1 card in hand Dream Bomb? Like, why am I not dead? And then like next turn he had suppressions to like keep a guy alive in combat, and I'm like, if that was a guy, I was just dead. Like, I don't understand fundamentally why White Aggro players are playing cards that don't kill your opponent when it is the fastest deck in the game. And I get it kind of.
It's for the aggro meta, right? Like, I think we can all agree that's got to be something that comes out. If it's worth putting those in just to like try to save up like against Rex, I think that's definitely debatable. But yeah, to your point, I think you just have to be the aggro deck at all times and hope that you get there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's interesting to see how that deck list has developed.
Yeah, this was game 2 where he suppressed me too. That's where I was like, this has to be a different creature, man. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand what's going on. But yeah, you just have a lot of really good tools. You have cheap creatures to throw down for blockers. Obviously, like if they just kind of tempo you out, it can get really hard. If you don't draw Ice Shield, you're going to die. That's what the deck is there to do. It's there to Ice Shield check you, but you have decent enough removal, decent enough card draw, decent enough cheap bodies to kind of throw under the bus to keep you alive longer. And they have to be very respectful of putting you to a Curse Dragon life total. Again, Angelic Pressure killing Fulla matters. Just playing Curse Dragon and getting 2 cores ahead when they're already putting you to like 2 life. Suddenly you're like 11 cores off of the back of 1 Curse Dragon on like turn 3.
Yeah, that feels great.
Yeah, like Curse Dragon doesn't need to wipe your opponent's board to be good. If you just kill 2 guys out of their 4 guys, you still get 2 cores. You can play Camelot Knight on the back of it. Like, there's just a lot that I feel like Curse Dragon does for that matchup. And it's really just about like drawing Curse Dragon, drawing Ice Shield, and then navigating your other 4 cards to figure out how can I survive and get a Curse Dragon down and then stabilize off the back of that.
So one of the interesting techs we saw over this past weekend was the Bloody Rain that came out of the sideboard, which is a wonderful starter deck card, and obviously very good that with white aggro wanting to go wide, sticking to those 1 cores, they can't remove it or the guy just dies, right? So it's effectively an extra Ice Shield. I think Spencer ran 2 copies, if I believe, right? So it's basically Ice Shield 5 and 6, as we would say. If white aggro stays as popular it is, do you think that's worthy of a sideboard slot, or do you feel comfortable enough in the white aggro matchup where you want to dedicate those sideboard slots to something else?
Yeah, I don't like Bloody Rain. It was something when we were like testing for Vegas and white aggro was the boogeyman. We're like, oh, Bloody Rain kind of hoses us, right? It really only hoses white aggro if it comes down on turn 1, because after that, like they're pretty fine to like it's not really serving as an ice shield that much later into the game, because if they put you to 2 life, then Bloody Rain like doesn't function anymore, right? Like they hit you, okay, now I'm alive at 1, but now you're alive at 1, you're basically dead if you're alive at 1. It's just not a life total that really functions against white aggro, especially when they play Derm Dyna. So yeah, Bloody Rain's just like, you need to see it too early, which means you need to play a bunch of copies of it, and then like aggro decks do win games through card advantage because they put so much pressure on you. You're not allowed to play cards that draw cards. Like, you can't find time to get down Netherworld Depths. It's really hard to find time to put down like Smoke Valley. Yep. Your Dragonaga Assassin isn't attacking. It's hard to draw cards against aggressive decks. And Dark Lancer Cavalier is like the only exception to this, but every time they attack you and crack an Ice Shield, that's also a -1. So like going card for card is not super good against white aggro, and then Bloody Rain is just a pure -1, just like Ice Shield, but it's also one you need to see too early. So I just haven't really been big on the card. I think against white aggro on the first 2 turns, it's a very good card and will buy you plenty of time. But because it's such a narrow situation and it's such a dead top deck, I'm just not a huge fan of the card.
Fair enough. We'll see how more of these sideboards adopt over future events, because, that's the beauty about Battle Spirits Saga. Coming from Battle Spirits, it was best to 1, and that was something a lot of us were worried about. Just, hey, I want a sideboard, and, that's a Magic background, and, of course, other games have sideboarding as well, but I think it just adds a lot to the competitive integrity of the game, in my opinion, being able to have that flexibility where you get the chance to say, okay, this is what's going to help out in this matchup, and it just creates... in my opinion, like just more enjoyable games where you're both now trying to play around some of these key sideboard cards in the matchup, where you bring that matchup closer. If it might be like an 80-20, hopefully there's some sideboard cards that make it a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more interesting in some cases. Moving on from our aggro matches, we're going to get into not Turbo Rex, just Rex. Sorry, look at my notes really quick. Turbo Rex is after that. But Gigano Rex, the big boy, the big dinos, right? Still kind of... if you were to ask some people, still the best deck in the format. We'll see if the TP meta holds up with that. But, I mean, purple, in my experience, as long as you can survive the early onslaught, like, not letting Rex be able to play just 1 core feels so good. So I feel like that's not as bad as I thought it would be going into it. But definitely would love to hear your thoughts on the Rex matchup. And, again, what are your key cards that you look forward to that bring you to victory in that one?
Yeah, Rex is, I think, definitely the hardest matchup for purple, and like I'll tell you that purple is the best deck in the game, but it's like probably Rex, and probably because Rex, I think, does very well into purple. It's just, again, you're not really beating Starblast Draw. Against Nova, they want to play the long game. You will beat them in the long game, but against Rex, trying to like survive the aggro onslaught while they're also drawing 4 cards every other turn is just super painful. Important cards in that matchup, again, Curse Dragon. Curse Dragon prevents them from going super wide against you and not getting punished. So it's Curse Dragon, it's Ice Shield, it's Beldegor, it's Deadly Balance, just to like stop them from doing weird lethals, and popping your Ice Shield earlier than you want them to. It's triggering your Beldegors in combat, that kind of stuff. So those are your main cards in, again, this matchup and almost every matchup pretty much. But the fact that they can go so aggressive against you and like make you kind of not have time to develop your long card advantage pieces, like your Nexuses, and the fact that they have Burning Force to kill your card advantage pieces, and they have a cheap Burning Force to do it, it's just one of the hardest matchups. Luckily, like, they only have like 8 cards you care about, and it's Burning Force and it's Starblast Draw, so sometimes they just like don't see enough copies of those cards, and you can kind of get online. I did play against Alex Blandon, who got second place at Vegas in one of the Virginia Beach tournaments, and I beat him game 1. He got me game 2, and then we couldn't actually finish game 3 in time because game 2 was like a really long and grindy one where he like had 3 Star Blessed draws, and I just couldn't get
Oh
through that.
God.
Yeah, it's just like
Oh, no.
like sometimes it's an aggro deck, but sometimes it's like I'm drawing 12 cards and we're playing this game. I had some, so I have some cheeky sideboard for that matchup where I have like suppression, because their guys can get pretty big and they'll very aggressively try to Burning Force and Volcanic break your 4 and 5 drops outside of combat, so you can't get back Beldegor. So suppression lets me like attack with my Mordred or like get an attack in with like a Cavalier, and then I can suppression that while it's tapped, and they won't even like think of it as a threat because it's already tapped, and their guys are big enough where like you can actually block, it'll die, get back Beldegor. And if their guys aren't big enough, well then suppression's just Ice Shield 5 and 6, right? So that's a pretty key sideboard piece. The imp, the shadow imp, that's not a shadow, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The little
We
guy,
just
I'm
talked
gonna
about
find
that
his
guy
name.
in the other video. I love that little dude for real.
Yeah, he's also something I really like against the Pterosaur matchup. It's in the sideboard. Again, I play a lot of shadows. I've got Beldegor, I've got Camelot Knight, you've got Dark Lancer Cavalier, you've got Mordred. Plenty of shadows to get him online, and just making them take like it's so hard to find time to win the game against aggressive decks because you can't just kill them from 5 except for like exactly mono white. But like because the red deck plays Ice Shield, you really have to nickel and dime them and get them to a life total where they have to start thinking, oh, I'm not allowed to attack because I'll die on the crackback. That's a situation you have to engineer against Pterosaurs and against every deck, really. I think it's one of the hardest things about playing purple is knowing when to put on the pressure. But yeah, the Shadow Imp lets you be aggressive, but also keep the board manageable. Also keep them honest with putting enough cores on their guys, and then Deadly Balance gets better. Like you really put more pressure on them to not know how to play against you, and that can cause them to make mistakes, which can let you win the game. But again, overall, sort of unfavored because they're aggressive, and Starbless Draw is a card that shouldn't have been printed yet.
That's the next part I was going to get to. It's like, depending on who you ask, like, Starbless is such a weird card. Because I remember coming out of Vegas, everyone was like, it's got to get banned. It's the number 1 card. It's got to get banned. Get it out of here today, right? And now we've been moving into this meta where, you know, Yellow's playing Fatal Beast because they can get around it. There's a lot of other decks that just don't care about it, and it's just a vanilla draw, too. And then, obviously, Purple. Sorry, guys. Y'all got to suffer a little bit longer because it's just so good against you. But then, like, if everyone's either cutting it or moving it to sideboard outside of Rex, like that is the one deck that obviously can still play it and wants to play it because it's just a 2-cost draw too, that's fine. Man, I was playing against Luster at locals, and they were just going through, like, Marigold and stuff. And, like, I never got to punish them. Like, yeah, holy crap. Like, a lot of these decks get a lot better if they don't have to worry about Starblast. I'm sitting there playing white, just vibing, like, at any point, I'd love to cast like a Starbless for the +4 because I would just love that value. So it's been a really interesting dynamic to see how that has changed. And of course, Purple, you are the on-summon color that is never going away. And then obviously Starblast has kind of been the sword in in your side a little bit.
Yeah, I think it has to exist though. Like again, I do think purple is a top 2 deck in the game, and if Starbless didn't exist, it would just be far and away number 1. Like if purple, Starbless is keeping purple in check, which is good, but I don't like that Starbless keeps some of the cuter white and yellow cards in check because like Starbless exists. You're just like building your white deck, and you're like, all right, I have to cut all these on summons. I can't play the on summon, put a core on my when blocks guy because I don't want my opponent drawing 4 against my white deck. So I think that's annoying, but like purple is too good. I think Starbless existing is okay. It's just annoying that like Pterosaurs gets to be this aggro deck that also gets to draw 4 against me, and it's the big thorn in my side for sure.
And it's something too, like we're going to get more burst cards in set 2. We're going to get how many burst cards? I don't even know how many burst cards we had in set 1 off the top of my head, but there's going to be a lot more. And right, that's, I think as the game progresses, as we get more card sets, be it a main set or things like EX01 and the lure set, we are going to get more competitive with the burst slot because you can only have one. And again, that's where some of the flexibility comes in, where it's like, okay, well, I need to have a different card in my burst. At least Starbless is still getting me +2. And a lot of times that's still going to be fine anyways. So like we already have that in this current meta where it's like, okay, well, they're playing Fatal Beast. They run exactly Turtle as the literal only when summoned. This is never happening. I just have to cast Star Blessed for a +2, and that's fine. And again, going back into the talking about decks that, well, I guess don't have any on summons, but, you know, we might be seeing a rise of Valkyrie Mist. So tell us to round out the last matchup here, kind of what to look forward to. Tell us what your thoughts on the white control matchup. And I know Turbo Rex is like kind of the topic, but I think that's like too new to see where that goes exactly. So just traditional elk, stall out control. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, currently I think white control is the worst deck in the game. I don't think it's beating anything reliably. I think white has like some very powerful tools, but because its card draw and card selection is so poor, you're playing a whole bunch of chaff that just isn't good, and you're like purple kind of just runs over white control. Netherworld Depths is very good against your block tactics. Bishop combo beats any of your board stalls. Like Dream Bomb isn't especially good against me. Elephant is like your best bet, but I can like you really want to punish the white player when they play the elephant, just like go wide and put as much damage on them as possible. And purple can do that too because purple can do everything. Like there's just white just feels like too slow and like not a very good control deck. I think the white aggro deck's way better. Yeah, purple white control just feels so abysmal, and I honestly have it below yellow on my tier list for as much like smack as I talked about yellow. But now we're getting Axe Spider, and that's like Axe Spider flips the
Yeah.
script, man. That card does way too much. I think white control gets a lot better when I can no longer play Bishop combo and remove all of your blockers. Now, when you have one or two blockers that stay behind because you had two Axe Spiders, and I can literally never kill these cards, like that's a problem, I think. So yeah, white control stock's going up, but right now, yeah, I'm not surprised it didn't do too well in Vegas.
Yeah, me being the yellow control mid range / control, depending on like what version of the deck you're building. I'm like, yay, Exhaust Nexus. This is even better for us. Like they can't ever save those guys against Exhaust Nexus. So in yellow, obviously it's very easy to play. We have a good board setup. We have Penton to make things cheaper, but man, paying 7 core, well, it'd be 14 cores, right? Because you have to do double Nexus.
We're not
Purple's
exhaust
not doing that.
Axe Spider. It's not happening. We're just if you play that guy, you have a blocker for the rest of the game, and I'm mad about it. I just have to. It's like weird because you almost have to try and outdraw them, but like your draw engine is Netherworld Depths, so if their Axe Spider is tapping to block every turn, like they can just mill you before you can kill them if they see more than one Axe Spider. So I'm terrified. I'm honestly thinking that purple might just be dead in the water because of Axe Spider existing. As much as I've been talking about, like that card is so insane. But that's just speculation. We'll have to, get into the testing lab, kind of see how it goes, and see if purple maybe splashes some white stuff like the Turbo Rex. Sacking our own Beldegors, play Turbo Rex, attacks, put your Axe Spider.
Yeah.
Just letting us get into combat through Axe Spider, I think matters a lot. But yeah, currently without Axe Spider, white control donkey doo-doo, but stocks are going up. Time to buy.
Buy. You heard it here first. But hey, that's kind of the beauty of these tournament pack promos, which by the way, go to support your local game store and tell them that they want to sign up for the July store tournament so you can earn these damn promos. We need more people to do that so more circulation gets out there. They're like $30 at the time of recording this, but it's week 2, or I guess it's still week 1 pricing because week 2 locals haven't happened yet. So this should be the ceiling for it, but we'll see. But going into that, Axe Spider, I think, is going to be getting a lot of value and is something that a lot of decks, again, to yourself saying that white was not great, they definitely needed something, but it is going to be an interesting dynamic. And when I was going back over it, because I had it pulled up on the screen, I just forgot. For some reason, I was thinking it was a 6K, so I'm like, oh, well, you can at least do Maduke. Yeah, they have Dream Bombs and stuff, but Maduke at least can attack with Blood Curse, trigger the Blood Curse, oh shit, no, it's 5K. It's not 6K. So it's like, now we have to burn some kind of because suppression can buff anything. It creates some not real board states at that point. Like Maduke would normally be the answer that you can bring in, make them burn through those Dream Bombs, and that's not even good enough anymore. So, it is going to be interesting.
Definitely interesting. I'm terrified of it, and again, I'm in the lab trying to figure out what is beating this stupid card. But it's like you look at every single purple card and every card that's like remotely splashable, and you're like, I got nothing. Like it's terrifying, but I'm sure we'll figure something out.
Yeah, it is very early, and again, we do have a couple grand opens to go between now and then, which who knows, maybe it'll just be nothing but white control decks in the top cut, and everyone's miserable. I sincerely doubt it, but we do, of course, need to, again, it's week 2. Everyone's got to get to testing, lots of great events coming up, and a lot of opportunities just to see how the meta develops. And the thing I keep going back to, right, we have been playing the same meta for 3 months now, and it has changed so much, it feels like. And obviously, the tournament packs are now going to have another meta shift, but just going from Vegas to Palm Springs was kind of nuts. And now we're going to have another major meta shift going in from the tournament packs, and then EX01, which is, again, going to have 4 spirits, 4 magics, and a 6-color dragon, to then set 2, which is going to be a whole new set. We get green, we get high speed, we get ramp. There's a lot of stuff to look forward to there, so I mean, I just personally love how much the meta has been shifting and how much more there is yet to be discovered. Where I'm surprised, 3 months, it doesn't feel stale yet, which has been great. So what have your thoughts been on how the meta has shifted between the two events and kind of what the future roadmap looks like?
Yeah, I mean, I just been playing purple the whole time, feeling great. So the meta's been shifting around me, and I'm just like, I've just been seeing more yellow, which has been great for me. It's
True.
shifting, and I'm like, this is getting easier. This is awesome.
You're like, man,
but
all
no,
these
yeah.
good matchups. Great, let's go. Yeah, let me just keep playing the same list, obviously with some changes along the way. So
Yeah.
really appreciate your thoughts with coming in and talking about purple. And again, I think it is better than a lot of people are giving it credit for. Axe Spider, obviously going to be the big thing that people have to start testing with and start testing against. But of course, I want to give you a chance here at the very end to give any shout outs that you might have for your team, Twitter, any of that good stuff.
Oh no, I got nothing. I just like talking about card games. Just I'm on Twitter. Ryan F and Miles is my handle. It's easy to find.
Yep. And we'll give him a proper shout out in the comments as well, because just a great guy. We've known each other from multiple card games and whatnot, and obviously a very good player. So I wanted to have him come on and talk about Purple Control, just because it's been 3 months of playing it, or I guess a little bit over 3 months now, playing with those cards and just jamming it out and being somebody who's probably played. Yeah, I don't want to say speaking absolutes, but I'd guarantee that you're probably like top 10 number of games as a purple player with like the overall Battle Spirits community. I feel like that's a pretty safe bet. You've jammed a lot of games with purple.
Yeah, no, I've pretty much only been playing it. Like I never like play test a whole lot, but this game, because of the prize pool, like I was really jamming games, so that might actually be true. Which I've never.
Well,
that's not my reputation, really. Yeah.
I just remember checking the Facebook chat. I'm like, this guy's labbing again. Like, dude, get some sleep. Like, I gotta wake up early. It's like, no, I gotta jam this purple deck, man. It's been great.
Yeah, those last 5 cards in purple, man, they're up in the air, and I'm always just trying to find the best ones. So definitely.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate it as always. And again, to everyone else, Summoners, make sure you get out to your local game store, spread the word, and get those tournament pack promos in. Because again, there's some spicy stuff, and you will want to get a playset for the color that you care about going into set 2 and going into the future. Because after July, that's it. They're gone. Make sure you have a playset by then. So we have 10 weeks left to get them. Obviously, plenty of time, but your LGS does need to support the game to get them in. So with that, once again, thank you so much, Ryan, Miles, everyone else. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.